What's your brake test setup? Man, if I had a broken piece of gear for every time somebody asked me that, my wall would probably look like that. I could tell you what I use, but that wouldn't be nearly as helpful than if I sourced it all, put it all together, and put it in a package, or in this case, a bag. And so I break down the entire setup that I have, and you can emulate it in different ways if you want. You get different parts if you want, or you just get the whole kit if you want. And that is going to be demonstrated in our new warehouse space that's not set up yet. Now, if you want to see this used in a real application, that was last week's video showing you how we broke test 8mm pulses. We did that on a concrete floor and with trees.
Pull.
I'm going to show you the SlackSnap mobile pulley base kit and how to assemble it with the rope. Because when you get one, if you get the kit, it comes with all the blank parts. You have to take them out of the package and assemble it yourself, which teaches you how to fish rather than giving you a fish. So you are going to want to put two of the pulleys together. We include a bolt and a shackle that gives the perfect amount of spacing. The washers go on the outside here, and the shackle is going to pull evenly between the two plates because these are rated for 48 kilonewtons each before they break here at the top plate. And so by spreading the load, you can get into that 90 kilonewton NBS range with this setup. There is enough flex here that they can spread out just enough in case you have the rope coming off to the side a little bit, but I don't like the fact that they move so much. And so it's unnerving when you break stuff for them to be crashing against the ground. So in order to keep them assembled together nicely, we have this 3D printed defender that works perfectly with the shackle and the bolts and these pulleys, and now creates this really nice block and tackle system. So you have two of these in your SlackSnap mobile pulley kit. So in order to thread the rope through, I'm going to take this off and we're going to set it here. Now this 3-inch SMC pulley is going to go on one side, and because I'm going to start on this side, the side you start on is the side you're going to end on, and that is going to be where I tie the knot at the end. So as I thread the rope through and through and through, I'm going to be pulling and they're going to want to come together. So it's nice to attach them to two different anchors. I have one attached here. It doesn't have to be that strong. You just want it to be stable while you're going through it. Now we include soft shackles because they work so nicely with the red shackles here when you have the defender on there. But we don't need that. I have a carabiner. I'm just pulling 50 pounds of force while I'm doing this. So the rope that I'm using is a 9mm hyperstatic rope. It's going to be 40 meters long, which gives us, I believe, 10 feet of throw. 10 feet that you can pull before you can't pull anymore. Now this is hyperstatic, which is nice, even though you're not jerk pulling, because if you're jerk pulling something, then you have it semi-static or worst case dynamic. You're not going to get any force out of that. It all gets absorbed. I have a whole video. I learned that the hard way. In jerk pulling, non-hyperstatic ropes, and a complex pulley system. It's 9mm. This is 9mm because it works well with a Z2R wheel where it will slip and or stop pulling around 3 to 4 kilonewtons, which is what you want. You don't want to go beyond that on a Z2R in general, and you want to limit how much you're pulling on an 11-to-1 because you don't want to put infinite force on these things. You don't want to tie this to a truck and pull this as hard as you can. This isn't a pulling contest. You want to add maybe some paracord between your truck and this so it breaks at 2 kN before that breaks at 100 kN. You don't want your pulley kit breaking. I have flaked this rope out nicely because if you have one little tangle, it's really hard to pull through all of these pulleys. The bolt is round on one side, but it's flat on the other. And so you want the two flat sides touching in the middle and the round parts on the outside. I'm going to start by putting it down in this situation on the side that I'm going to terminate it on. And I'm going to be going, this isn't complicated. I'm not doing some 90-degree Z-rig. So we're going to go up the pulley on this side, down the pulley on this side, and we're going to go back and forth in a circle until we get to where we've inserted into the red pulleys. You pull it a little, you pull it a little, you pull it a little. Now we are going to go in an S shape to where we end it. We're gonna go on the outside of this, on the inside of this, and you're going to stay in between these 4 strands and the bottom 4 strands. Oh, I got a little knot in there. You don't want any knots. And now I'm gonna tie the classic figure 8, because you are not seeing 30 kilonewtons at the end of this knot here. You are seeing 30 divided by 11. You're never gonna put more than 30 kilonewtons on this setup, and at MBS is 90. So you have a 3-to-1 safety ratio. If you want more than 30 kilonewtons, we've got answers for that, but you don't put it on these pulleys. Then you put it on this quick link here. You close all your quick links. They make them stronger. You wrench them tight, and that's all it takes to set up the 11-to-1. Now I want to put the defenders back on, which is as simple as slipping it over the top and smacking it over the red shackle. And now you're defended. Now that I'm fully set up, my defenders are on, my quick links are closed, then I'm going to unclip this, and I'm going to show you how small it can be while you have force on it. But you pull the tail, pull it tight, pull the tail, pull it tight. And the closest that you can get these while having force on them is when you have these 2 red pulleys start to kiss. And this right here, from the red shackle to the red shackle, is 3 feet, 36 inches. So you can make it tighter when you put it in the bag. And so what you do is you keep it clipped to 1 anchor, and you definitely do not want to put it in the bag unless it's fully collapsed. Pull it as tight as you can. Tie an overhand knot right here. Pull it like that. And now this won't get twisted. And this will sit in that bag perfectly. And then you just coil up your rope and keep that nice and tidy. How long does this get, you ask? Make sure you have a knot in the end of your rope. Red shackle to red shackle, fully extended with the knot sucked up into this, is 14 feet. And you can pull it all the way to 3 feet. So you have 11 feet of throw. Oftentimes when you clip something, you have to pull a lot of slack out of the system. So you can fully extend this, and then you can start to pull this tight. We'll go over that in a second. This soft shackle is very compatible with going through that red shackle right there with the defender on here. Technically, this 5-ton shackle works good. It's a little bit more difficult to get it on there. I prefer to have soft shackles because that's less hard stuff flying everywhere. At 13 feet, which gives me 10 feet of throw, I have this tail all the way back to this pulley, which is where I could put the Z2R as long as I have a shield to protect me. So you have 10 feet of throw after you get all of this out of the system. Now there's so many variables on how you pull this, or how you measure the force, or how you connect the things you're trying to break. Sometimes you're trying to break the thing, sometimes you need an anchor to put the thing to break the thing. And so that's why this is the base kit, and then we're gonna build on top of that. So I have good news and bad news for you. Climbing gear is stronger than you think. It's bad if you're trying to break it. If you want to go over more than 30 kilonewtons, you don't want to take your base pulley kit over 30 kilonewtons. You don't. You know, I say don't, and then I'm like, oh, you don't? No, you don't. There are ways to pull stronger without taking the actual pulley kit higher. This is an arborist pulley. It has a working load limit of 60 kilonewtons, an MBS of 300, okay? So you need, if you were going to add a 2-to-1 to the system, you are gonna need something connected to whatever you're breaking to be very strong. We don't have a defender for this yet. This could go flying, but it's an arborist pulley. It's meant for that. This is the nicest Dyneema on the planet. It's SK99 Max. What I'm holding in my hand is $300, but it's also a sling that is rated for, I believe, 300 kilonewtons in the configuration I'm about to show you, not eye to eye. It's 10 millimeters of SK99 Max. So you have the eye, you put it through the pulley, you connect it to your soft shackle, and this entire bolt, shackle, soft shackle, rope, the whole thing is MBS is 90. We don't have parts that are underbuilt and overbuilt. So this is 300 MBS, this whoopee is going to be something that matches that. And you'll notice that I can pull this tail and I can adjust the length of this eye because it depends what you clip it to. It depends how long you want this. You want all the slack out of the system before you start pulling when you're doing very strong samples. Things that are very strong are not stretchy. That is a nice feature about strong stuff, at least in this world. I'm sure there's stretchy stuff that's strong, but in the context of anything I've ever broken. So this is anchored hard to an anchor. It's not moving. The pulleys are moving. The pulleys are always the things that are moving. But now you have it pulling the tail of this thing. So you're getting twice, almost twice, the force. You always lose a little in friction when you're doing something. So this setup will take you up to 50 kilonewtons with the same amount of force that you apply to the tail as if you didn't have the 2-to-1 kit. However, a nuance by adding a 2-to-1 is you only get half of how much you can pull this thing before you bottom out your system. But strong stuff is not stretchy, so as long as you start with it at 1 or 2 kN, it's totally fine. You'll notice this entire setup is intended to not have resets. You don't have a gree-gree in the system. You don't have a 3-to-1 on the tail like you would if you're tensioning a slack line. And you don't have a 3-to-1 on that 3-to-1 on the system to get a 75-to-1. No, you don't want to be near this when things are breaking. You don't want to have to come here and slide in a cinder back up this thing so you can keep pulling the tail. That is why it's rigged this way. So by the time this part of this 2-to-1 gets pulled to the end of the pulleys, you've only pulled this half the distance than if you were to pull directly with this. Math. You only get half the throw with this. You don't get to do resets if you have the 2-to-1. If you're only doing 30 kilonewtons, you go directly with this to your sample and you put all your catchers in the system. So you have 3 ways that you can pull this tail. The Z2R can get mounted right next to this, and you can see that in our 8mm pulse video. Put the rope in here, stick your drill in there and turn it on. That is one way to pull it. You can only pull this so much force before it starts slipping, which is by design. You don't want to put more than 2, 3, or 4 kilonewtons on this tail. So if you were to clip this and you were to tie a knot and clip this to the back of an ATV, a truck, a tractor, a lawnmower, whatever, something that could drive away and pull things, you don't want to clip this directly to the truck. You want to clip a fuse in between, right? So you can, 4 kilonewton carabiners are sometimes 9 kilonewtons strong. So you want to pick something that's reliably going to break between 2 and 4 kilonewtons. So if you pulled too hard, that your fuse breaks and not your whole pulley setup kit. Because your sample might be stronger than you think and you need to mitigate that. The other thing, if you pull with a bunch of friends, as you've seen in our videos, sit. And they sit here and you sit like that. So when you fall, you're not falling into their knees, you fall onto their soft part of their body.
Pull.
You want to not fall. We used to do this, and we would pull because we would have a grigger in the system and whatever, and we'd break. And in every video, Bobby is falling until we learned how not to fall. Already be on the ground if you're pulling with a team of people. You'll notice something here. I'm in the line of fire. So you have a couple options that you can get, because this is all dependent on your setup. You can get another pulley. You can set it here at the anchors. And you could get a longer rope, and you could be over here. And you could pull with a tree right here, blocking you from the thing. If you can see the samples can see you, and things can come flying and hitting you. Spoiler alert, if you come to my lab and you watch things break, you don't get to watch things break. You have to stand behind doors or walls or something and just listen to it break and then come around the corner and figure out what happened. Only the audience gets to watch it break because only the camera gets to watch it break. Put a phone on a little tripod on your samples. Don't watch your stuff break. And even then, if you're not looking at it, you want safety glasses, you don't want to be in the line of fire, and you need to respect a tool that can take 10,000 pounds on gear that is not supposed to have 10,000 pounds on it, which is probably your sample that you're trying to break. Just respect the system and you won't get hurt. Like a lot of tools. There's so many variables in how you connect this to stuff that we have a rock anchor kit and a tree anchor kit, because it really depends on how you are going to use this, but the base pulley kit is universal across all the systems. You one, want to build anchors that are not going to fail, and two, you want to build catchers or put this rope. You don't need a big rope. You need a rope that can catch things when they go flying. Things you expect to go flying, which could be the pulley or the load cell itself, and the things you're not expecting to go flying. Every component in this needs to be hard tied into a system in order to be backed up in case your anchor fails, the tree fails, something breaks in your system you weren't expecting and it goes the opposite way instead of the sample breaking and it going the way you predict. Everything needs to be tied off in 2 ways each, redundant things on every single point, because everything I've ever broken on accident was because something went flying and I wasn't anticipating it, which adds risk. So we will have additional videos when we are out in the wild and use this in real life. We'll be able to demonstrate how to be safe in all sorts of different environments. It's pretty hard to demonstrate that, but the concept is universal. Regardless of where you are, tie your stuff off twice.
Back in my day, we didn't have such good options.
1, line scale 3 did not exist, which is why it exists now, because I needed it to exist. The Defender exists because I kept breaking them. And so you could let it go flying and it not break as often. Asterisk, not a warranty. Sure hell better than me trying to stick it in a box and drilling holes in the sides of boxes and trying to pull it with soft shackles sticking outside of the boxes and the box is breaking. And I still broke these things. However, this is a line scale 3 that goes up to 30 kilonewtons. Do not take it past that. It will work great with the base kit. And it's light. And there's no cables coming out of the side. But it does cost $1,200-ish. With the Defender, I think $1,300. So that is the premium option for 30K in or less. Then we have these load cells, which is basically a brick of steel in an S shape with the eyes that come with it. They don't come with it otherwise. I just know I hate buying these without the eyes, and so I'm not going to torture you with that. And I'm going to give you the shackles that are going to be compatible with it. And this is all on its own product page. You don't need this bundled on anything. That's why you can decide what you are going to use. There's already thousands of these out there. If you already have a line scale 3, you might only need that. If you already have 2 of the pulleys, you might just be able to use our gear guide to buy the pieces you don't have, especially if you already have rope. You don't need it to be 9 mil. You already have some 11 mil. If you have parts laying around, great. The only thing I say about that is dedicate whatever you're using to breaking stuff to breaking stuff. You do not want to then go use it recreationally or professionally after you are done taking it up close to what its limit is. This plugs in to this reader, and this is long enough. This has all been designed together. This is long enough for you to be able to read this within view of you pulling this, assuming you have a shield and you're not redirected. So you will be able to live see the number, and this has an app on iPhone and Android for you to live see the number you are at. And you can set alarms on these things in order for you to stop when you hit 28, 29. You'll notice this has a Defender on it as well. You don't want this to go flying. The biggest risk you'll have is the cable getting damaged itself. The way we set this up on our site is that you can buy any individual part, including the Defender that goes around the pulleys. So if you already have pulleys, you don't have to buy the whole kit in order to get that. You can buy the individual parts. The kit is just the individual parts added up together in order to keep this as affordable as possible for you to be able to break stuff like you see on the channel, but at a significantly cheaper price than what I had to pay in order to get to this point, with a lot of friction and wasted time out in the field, which is limited time that I was wasting trying to figure this stuff out. To have 2 options for this, to have 2-to-1s and 11-to-1s, and ways to pull it when you don't have 7 people, or in a way to get a truck on the site, is something I wish I had 9 years ago when I started this whole thing. I hope this makes your backyard science easier, or you able to do demos for teams that you were trying to train in a way that wouldn't be possible otherwise. Just don't have your team watch the things break when things go flying. Thanks for watching.